All right, the Reds. It is Talking Reds, live from Liverpool with me, Gareth Roberts, him, Fuad Hasan. We haven't had any Chris for a while. Where are they? Send them to the office. We've got no Chris to talk about. So in the meantime, we're going to talk about football instead then. The Reds currently on a little break. The next game is against Cardiff, of course, in the FA Cup, followed by Leicester in the Premier League. We'll talk about all that in due course. But what we're going to talk about a little bit today on today's show is what Liverpool have done so far, what we think of what they've done. If you're in the corporate world, for instance, I think they call it SWOT analysis, so strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. We might do a bit of that. But before all that, the return of the Hodge. So you might have seen overnight that Watford have sacked Claudio Ranieri, 71-year-old Claudio Ranieri, not experienced enough in the game. What they need is some stability. What they need is someone to steady the ship. And so they've gone and got Roy Hodgson, 74 years old, like the turd that won't flush. He is back. He is back in football. And I can tell you now, Watford fans, you are not in for a good time. How does this man keep getting jobs? No. Like they had some kind of mad guard of honour, I think, at Palace, didn't they? They waved him off. You know, you got all the eulogies on the telly. Everyone said he was sound, even though he definitely isn't. And then he's back again. Yeah. I like the way as well, by the way. Last night it was like, they're talking to Roy Hodgson and he's considering the offer. Like before I could like put my head down on a pillow, I got another notification saying he'd accepted. I reckon his wife's just like, fucking get out the house. You're doing me head in. Shut up, what are you on about? Why are you talking about 4-4-2? It's breakfast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is mad. Like you'd have thought if he was to come back, you know, it's like last resort, Watford can't find anyone else. But they've obviously gone and they've had to convince him to come out of retirement, which is kind of mad in itself. So I'm sure he's going to be on some big money as well. Watford have a thing of doing that with their managers as well, getting them in because they know they come in and they're probably gone after a year. It makes no sense from a football point of view. I mean, what's he going to do? He's not going to galvanise that squad suddenly and get them to go on a massive run. He's not done that in the last few years. No, he's not going to inspire you. And you know, Ranieri said that some of those players don't quite have the fight. Well, Roy Hodgson's not the one to come in and, you know, provide that kind of inspiration, that spark. And also, you know, what's the slightly, I know Watford haven't done this, but, you know, all the managers that they haven't appointed before, they're slightly younger, they look like, you know, if things go right, they could be there for a few years. There's no plan. There doesn't look like there's any plan for the kind of slight long term. And nowadays, you're seeing other teams around. You know, you look at Crystal Palace, the team that you left, look what they've got going on. They've got a proper kind of, it's not the word we like using in football, but project, if you like. You know, that Vieira's come in there and there's clearly a plan for the next few years and you can see progression. Fun. He's introduced fun, yeah. and I mean, Watford fans now, honestly, Watford fans now are going to be in for a grim rest of the season. I
mean, it's been pretty grim up to now, to be fair. So, you know, they played 20 in the Premier League, won 4, drawn 2, lost 14, scored 23, conceded 40. I would imagine that there is someone somewhere in the corridors of power saying that, you know, this is a man who can sort our defence out, tighten us up, all of that kind of thing. Well, that's sound, because he probably can do that to an extent. But what he'll also do, though, is be sitting them down and training and go, just fucking launch it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, who wants to watch that? And their churn of managers is absolutely wild. Like, they actually, you know, you had the chief executive coming out the other year when they had 3 managers in a season saying, well, you know, the structure around it is exactly the same. We don't think there's a problem in changing the head coach. Here we are again, 3 coaches in a season again. And it's just like, it sounds trying to be a smart ass about football, but I think surely that group of players just looks at the manager and says, well, you're undermined before you start. Yeah. Like, what power have you got? If we get shit results, you're the one that's going. I've got a nice contract, not bothered.
Well, that's the thing, and loads of the managers before Ranieri and now him, if he does join, you know, they're all a younger profile. They've all come from Europe, you know, relatively kind of little experience. So that there's a little thing there where, you know, they're a profile that's completely different to now what they've gone for. So there's one thing, the strategy of getting rid of managers constantly, but they were bringing in similar kind of people in terms of experience. Now it just doesn't make any sense. Now it feels like, you know, it's not like Roy Hodgson's suddenly going to rediscover or discover a new kind of managerial style and be the long-term answer to Watford's problems. So yeah, it makes no sense. And like I said before, Watford fans are going to be in for a grim time and also having to listen to him post-match every game.
Yeah. 16 managers in 10 years now for Watford. Roy will be the 16th. I like this as well. Sky Sports News put out one of Roy Hodgson's first jobs as Watford boss will be to build bridges with Harry the Hornet. He was unhappy with the club. He was unhappy with the club mascot back in 2018, labelling his behaviour as disgraceful. We were just talking before we started as well about this idea that he's like this lovely fella, you know, dead intelligent, wears big watches, reads books, whatever. You know, his wife's a Scouser, blah 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 blah. All of this kind of stuff. You get this nice guy Roy stuff. He's not a nice fella. He just isn't. He's flipped on loads of people. He's been horrible to loads of people. And just put into the internet, just put into Google, BBC Hodgson rant or something like that, and it comes up. We were just watching it before we started. And he just absolutely flips on this reporter who's asking normal questions about a football match. I think you're taking the piss. And all this, you know, starts swearing at him, wants to cancel the video and all this. And it's like, and I've seen that firsthand back when he was Liverpool manager. It's actually mad to think he was Liverpool manager. You know, you look back now and go, how did that ever happen? And do you know what I heard at the time? Steady the ship, you know, safe pair of hands, all of this bollocks. He was shit. He was absolutely shit for us. He was a bellend towards journalists. He ostracised some of the players. I think Agger, Glenn Johnson, I presume there was probably others as well. We literally heard him in a game say, just fucking launch it to his coach. You know, there were so many things. And the footy was awful. The results were awful. You know, what was it he said about the Everton game that time?
Our best performance, isn't it?
Yeah, when we'd been beaten by them, and he said it would have been utopia. It would have been utopia to beat Everton at Goodison Park. No, it wouldn't. No. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I've got here, where is it? I got it up ready. So, Fuad, just tell me when to stop. I'm scrolling, tell me when to stop. Right, okay. I've gone into the comments too far. Tell me again.
Stop.
Right. Here's Hodgson doing an interview for Liverpool as Liverpool manager. It doesn't bother me because I can't do more than I'm doing. I can't work harder. I can't work better. I have great confidence in my ability. I don't think there's any reason not to have. I know the players are working as hard as they can to win matches for Liverpool, and therefore me as manager. But if you have situations like last night when you have phone-ins to the owners, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know how it's going to go because we're not top of the league. Had we been top of the league, it might have been different, but we're not. We're ninth, and we are Liverpool Football Club. You don't have to be Albert Einstein to work out more people will be unhappy with that than happy with it. I mean, that's not even one of his worst. That's probably one of the better ones. There is, if you want to go and look back at exactly how bad he was as Liverpool manager, there's a file, well-worn, plenty of people have read it, on the Anfield Wrap's website called The Hodge Files. So just simply Google The Hodge Files. Ben Johnson at the time was absolutely driven to distraction by this manager, and he made a file of all the comments he made as Liverpool manager, and it's extraordinary. It really is. It's like, you know, did you really say these things? I'm just trying to look for another particularly bad one.
There's no hope, is there? It's just all about managing expectations. You can't sort of dream, or there's no kind of ambition in anything that he ever says. And it was the same at Palace. Anytime they went on a good run of form, he was always sort of managing expectations rather than sort of thinking, well, why can't we with these players kind of break further up the table? It's just always, well, relegation's our main thing, and that's that.
He called Northampton formidable. I mean, fucking hell. And like there was one where I think Ferguson had to go at Torres, didn't he? Basically said like he was a diver. You want your manager to come out and defend him. Yeah. And he didn't. He just sort of went, well, if that's what, you know, if that's what the mighty Alex Ferguson thinks, then, you know, we crack on. He was just an absolute bell. We are live. We got stuff in the comments, so let's just see what we've got here before we move on to a bit of an appraisal of Liverpool so far. There's an actual good question here from Phil Jeffrey. He says, what do you guys think about Klopp saying Kelleher will be picked for the cup final? What do you reckon to that?
I'm fine with it. I think he's shown more than enough that he's able to step in and be more than deputy. I quietly think we probably have, in terms of goalkeeping duo, the best two in the league. I can't think of another club. Maybe Man United, but Henderson's not that great. He's not as good as everyone makes him out to be. And you have to give it to him, don't you? He played all the games. It would be a massive kind of, in terms of the man management and personal management, that Klopp kind of really is really good at and really relies on. You can't just go, no, sorry, mate, you've played every game and I'm going to take you off now.
I mean, he's literally good as well.
He is, yeah.
It's not like some like nice thing he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, he's a good goalkeeper. He's proven that. And like, you know, Alisson's absolutely brilliant. We saw that again at the weekend.
Yeah.
And so there is an argument, of course, saying, well, okay, well, he's a step up because he's absolutely world-class, Alisson. Kelleher not quite there yet, but well on the way.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I don't think the drop-off's massive. I think it's good for the lads' development. I think it's the right decision. So yeah, that's our views on that one. In terms of the Reds then, where we are and where we're at and all the rest of it, you know, with City dropping some points couple of points at the weekend, Liverpool taking advantage against Palace, that was massive for me because it's changed the mood, but also, I mean, just little things like you look at the odds all of a sudden, like Liverpool were 12-1 to win the league before Palace. They dropped points at Southampton, we beat Palace. It's about 6-1 now. So all of a sudden there's like a different narrative, and I read something yesterday in one of the papers, and it was sort of saying, well, City only have to sort of slip up one more time, like, you know, get beat one more time, and then it's sort of in Liverpool's hands. We can go to City, we can beat them. I mean, we've got to be perfect, don't get me wrong, and it's all sort of, it's going to be really hard. But, you know, any chance, any chink of light, we'll all dive on that, and I think the players will as well.
Exactly. The players sort of have done this before. They know what position they're in now. They've been through, they've experienced it, you know, a couple of years ago, and you know they're more than good enough to go on a run. And it's not just the fact that they've proven that before, but even this season, you know, there's been huge kind of mitigating factors. I know it's been like that for everyone, but you know, if it wasn't for that, for some of these things, you know, we would have had a perfect January, a perfect kind of end to December as well. So there's loads to be positive about, and the main thing is being in the hunt for these things. I think you don't want to be in a position where the league looks completely gone and it's just about, you know, you're a mad second place like United were a couple of years ago, you know, 20 points adrift or whatever. No matter what Liverpool do now, hopefully that gap isn't big. And then, you know, even if they don't do it this year, and we should still believe completely, you know, they have that thing of next season then going, look, we managed to pull it together towards the end. Yeah. Let's keep that kind of wave going. And there's 3 trophies to be won as well on top of the league now, and they're in a great position, I think, to go far in all 3, and they've already got one final on the horizon. So there's so much to be positive about, and success isn't just the league. I think that's an important thing as well. Success isn't just winning league. City, when they haven't won the league, they've gone and won the domestic cups. You know, yes, they haven't in Europe, but we need to start doing the same, I think, now, and kind of show that every season Liverpool have something to show for it.
I think as well, you're right there about sort of momentum into next season as well.
Yeah.
You know, if we push City all the way and they only beat us by a handful of points, then you can say, well, you know, we're on the same level as them. If we drop off, if morale goes, you know, through the floor, if they end up winning it convincingly, I think that has a knock-on effect. But you know, we've seen plenty of times where we take the momentum of one season into the next one. So we went from 97 to 99, but even going back to like Rodgers' days, the 13-14, the end of the season before, you know, Coutinho and Sturridge started to click. We were beating sides well. You know, you could see understanding starting to develop, and you were like, hang on, there's something brewing here.
Exactly.
So I think there's that as well. But just sort of looking at what we've done so far as well this season, you know, it's felt like a bit of a toil at times, bizarrely. But we've lost 2 games. You know, we lost to Leicester away, we lost to West Ham away, and okay, there are some draws in there that have been annoying. Obviously, drew against Chelsea with 10 men. You know, Brentford was annoying in that we were in the lead twice, I think, in that game. Drawing with City at Anfield, albeit that it is City, you still want to try and, you know, press that advantage of being at Anfield. Brighton is one that I referenced an awful lot as well. Tottenham, where you think, well, you know,
it was mad.
Could we have diddled that one a little bit about the sort of COVID situation? It felt like we were almost being too honest in that situation when you look at what some of the other teams are doing. And then, the draw at Chelsea as well. But, you know, the other thing is as well, with AFCON going on, I think there was proper, like, catastrophe talk about how that was going to affect Liverpool. And here we are, you know, we beat Palace. We've knocked Arsenal out the cup, we're in a cup final, we beat Brentford comfortably at home, we progressed in the FA Cup. You know, like, it's gone really well.
It has, and there's a lot of players there that have quietly kind of stepped up as well while these guys have been away, and that's going to be huge, I think, because, you know, you kind of, the one thing you sort of need to count on if you're the manager, and Pep Lijnders, I think that's kind of out of your control almost, is how some of the players, you know, in the squad who don't get many minutes during the past few months, how they kind of react to now having to come in and be the main men. And, you know, Oxlade-Chamberlain's quietly gone and scored two really important goals, playing in a position he's quite unfamiliar with, and he scored 2 real kind of striker, Mo Salary kind of goals in the box, poacher type goals. So there's a lot to be positive about in that sense, and players now who have the minutes and have the confidence as well to now come in when it does get hectic again, to come into games, whether it's off the bench or whether it's kind of FA Cup games at the end of a week, that they now have that confidence and belief that they can do the job.
And we are top goal scorers in the league as well. 58 goals to City's 55. So there is that as well. I was saying on the final word yesterday as well that maybe it's just me, but I keep thinking about that. City have got to go. Well, City play Villa last game. We've got the Gerrard aspect of that, and it's just like I can see this brilliant story unfolding, but we shall see. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. But just going to look in the comments, see what else we're saying. Are we putting a clip in the middle of this, by the way, boys, or no? No, shaking heads. Okay, we carry on. Someone says there, Paul Konchesky's ma will be made the director of football at Watford. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. Also speculation around what crisps Hodgson would eat. Someone saying roast chicken walkers, which made me laugh because they are shite. They are a bad crisp. What else have we got them as well? Someone else said, I probably call them perfect. I think we're probably talking about bad crisps.
Did you watch the AFCON last night?
No.
It was brilliant. Honestly, Comoros played, who did they play? Cameroon. And they had their left back had to go in goal because all their keepers are injured or got COVID. But like the morning of the game, they changed the COVID rules. So one of the keepers could have played, but they changed the rules that he had to isolate for 5 days. So the left back had to play in goal. They went down to 10 men within 4 minutes. And they're playing against like Cameroon, probably the best goalkeeper in the division. And Comoros are like, this is the first time they've ever been in the AFCON. Furthest they've ever got, obviously, in the knockouts. And then the ref, they're on the attack, they make it 2-1. The ref blows the whistle like 30 seconds early while they're on the attack, possibly getting the equaliser, and it just all kicks off at the end.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Madness. Roy gets the salt and shake crisps and fucks off the salt packet.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Tom says, I reckon Roy eats them dry aged cheddar kettle crisps, carries his own glove so he doesn't get crispy fingers. That's amazing. That's superb thinking there. Someone says he just runs dry roasted nuts because he detests all crisps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that as well.
Some raisins.
What else have we got? Someone saying he writes messages on his phone with one finger while he holds the phone at arm's length, squinting. Maybe he does. Maybe he does. I mean, Scott's put something here which is a bit naughty, and people maybe keep. Why is that lad talking about Everton again? But it's in the comments. Scott has put, imagine the Hodge keeps Watford up in 70th. Oh. Now I've seen other people saying this. I mean, I can't see it. I kind of think you haven't made things better by putting him in charge. Yeah. You know what I mean? He doesn't feel like a threat. I mean, it could be pretty wrong, of course, but just think. Yeah, someone says about the formidable challenge ahead of us playing Northampton. A few things as well, by the way, while I'm vibing here, is we've got 3 strikes today. We're going to talk a bit more about Hodgson on that, just about the general Watford situation, though, not just Hodgson on that. So, that all the managers do churn through the project, as things get called these days. We're also going to be talking about Newcastle. Going to Saudi Arabia during the break, and just sort of what we think about that now. We're also going to talk about refs, and maybe something a little bit different on refs, because there's a report that people are leaving refereeing in the droves, that it's really hard to recruit young lads to be a referee because the amount of stick they're getting. So we're going to do a bit of a, do they get a bit of a rough deal? How do we change that situation? That kind of thing. We've also got a talk on transfers coming up today as well. Got Paul Gorston from the Echo. So we're going to talk about some of the transfer news that's kicking about with him. Will Liverpool sign anyone before the window slams shut? Looking unlikely currently, although there is one player that they are definitely interested in. Gorsty was saying to me last night. So if you want to see what that's all about, you can download the app, get the free tokens, watch that show through the app. And yeah, I mean, that's about it really for today, I think. I'm just going to have one more look at the comments, see if we've got anything good. Elfin Priest says, Newcastle have sold their souls to the devil. I'm sure you'll get similar views on Three Strikes from some people there. Hard focus on footy chat after such a tragedy, says Rob. I mean, aware that people died in a crush. And you know, that is obviously incredibly sad. I'm sure we'll look into, well, not us look into it, they will look into what happened and why it is all over the news. But we are allowed to talk about the football too. We're just two lads talking about football in a studio in Liverpool. Give us a fucking break, hey. Does Salah get back in the free scoring team upon his return, says Phil. Yes, he fucking does, doesn't he? Let's be honest. I mean, that's one of the things I've been thinking about when we return. Salah just coming straight back into a side that's managed to stay in this position, and he'll come back in hungry, wanting to break every record like he always does. I heard a good little tale the other day about Salah. There was an event over Christmas periods where you could pay, and there was ex-players there, and it was some kind of like Christmas party. But I believed he got Salah up on a screen to like speak to everyone who was in this room, and Rushy was there, and apparently he said to Rushy, like, I've looked at your goals, what you scored for Liverpool, and he's like, half of them were in training, weren't they? But this is the second time that I've heard that Mo has these type of conversations with Rush. He keeps looking at his record and going, well, I've done this, and I've got this number of players, some number of years potentially to play. How have you done that? Yeah. And like, but I love the fact that he's looking
at it, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's absolutely obsessed with record. Still love that story about, you know, him going to Ben Foster after the Watford game, wasn't it? And saying, like, if we'd have got a pen, what way would you have gone and why? And it's like, how do you even think about that? You know, you'd just be walking off the pitch, wouldn't you? Go, we just won 5-0 or whatever it was.
Exactly. It's an elite mentality, isn't it? And it's a thing where, you know, loads of people have always talked about him chasing his own records and breaking records, but I think the thing that's forgotten is him doing that pushes the team forward. You know, him becoming the top scorer in Liverpool's history or up there nearabouts is going to mean that Liverpool are really successful and go really far, because there is so much around him. He's not one player in a team, you know, that Gerrard maybe was at one stage or Torres was at one stage. There's a world-class team around him, and if he hits these heights and hopefully he does sign the contract and we can get that all sorted, then you wouldn't put it past him to go really close to breaking some of the highest records, because he's got years ahead of him. He's got the mentality clearly, and he's got the longevity because of how he keeps himself.
Loads of good reasons to think about Liverpool being great right now. Loads of stuff to go at when they do return to action. Can't wait for all of that. It is a good time to be a Red. It is a bad time to be fans of certain other clubs right now. That's funny, isn't it? This has been Talking Reds. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll do another one soon. Get onto all the Anfield Wrap stuff in the world. TheAnfieldWrap.com, podcast, videos, the shop. Shit everywhere. Up the Reds.